So good morning again, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I am Christina on behalf of Revolve. I'm the communication leader for the Resist project. So I'll be moderating this session, and I'm also joined by my colleagues, Marta and Marcela, who will be helping to moderate the chat. And I'm welcoming you to our media briefing. So it's the fourth one from the Resist project. From challenge to action, Resist unveils adaptation breakthroughs. So in today's session, we'll be focusing on the Resist project and how it's driving the exchange of practical knowledge, tools, and experiences across 12 climate vulnerable regions in Europe. And this session is an opportunity, especially for journalists, to explore how these regional efforts are contributing to the broader climate adaptation landscape and their essential role in media to help amplify these messages. And this was sent as a reminder in the link that you joined with, but just a few housekeeping notes before we begin. The session is being recorded, so it will be available afterward on our YouTube and our website for wider sharing. And we ask you, this is quite important, so please use the Q&A box to submit your questions rather than the chat, and kindly indicate which speaker your question is directed to. Of course, questions for the whole panel are also welcome. Just indicate which it's for. So individual speaker or the whole panel. And all questions will be addressed during the dedicated Q&A, which comes at the end of the session. Marta, could you change? Perfect. Okay, so here's what we can expect for today. We're starting with opening remarks and the background on the Resist project from Catarina Azevedo. She's our operational coordinator at Resist. Then we'll have Linda Hölscher, senior advisor at Adelphi, who's presenting an overview of the Resist knowledge transfer strategies and key adaptation solutions. And next, so the main part of the session with our panelists, we'll hear from 3 regional representatives, each sharing real-world case studies that demonstrate how these solutions are being applied in their local context. So I'll be introducing each speaker as we move through the program. And as I mentioned, we'll conclude with the Q&A, so please keep your questions coming in the Q&A function. And that's it from me. So we can already get started with Catarina's presentation. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. My name is Catarina Azevedo, and I said I'm operational coordinator of the Resist project, representing INOVA, a Portuguese company. So if you can bring up my slides then, please. I will introduce you very briefly to the Resist project, which is the European project with a big consortium. We are 60 partners. Yeah, you can pass to the next slide, please. It's part of the big initiative of the European Commission and the European Union, the EU mission to climate adaptation. So our project is part of this mission, and it's co-funded by the Horizon Europe program. As I said, it brings together 60 partners with 60 organizations from across different European countries. It's coordinated by 2 organizations, SINTEF as the strategic coordinator, and as I mentioned, INOVA being operational coordinator. It has been designed to last for 5 years. We are halfway through its implementation right now. And there are a lot of activities planned, and the whole approach is aimed to strengthen the resilience of 12 regions in Europe. Strengthen their resilience, accelerate the transformation to adaptation to climate changes. Those 12 regions, as many other territories in Europe, are vulnerable to climate change. And we are really making and developing innovative solutions to accelerate the adaptation and decrease the impacts of climate change in those territories. Next slide, please. Across the 12 regions that are directly involved in Resist, those regions are, let's say, facing really different climate challenges. So we are talking about floods, droughts, heat waves, wildfires, soil erosion, and many more. But those are the main climate challenges that we are addressing with the Resist project. And those 12 regions have been, let's say, they are vulnerable, and from the project start, they were aware about those challenges. However, already along the 2.5 years of implementation, we see that in some parts of those territories, those challenges, let's say, and climate events are aggravating, and our regions unfortunately suffered already from more hazardous events related to climate. So it really shows and demonstrates how urgent those actions like resist are right now. Our aim is a kind of twin transition, green and digital. So we're having a variety of solutions and innovations that we bring to those territories and try to develop and test them and show their potential for that adaptation to climate change. Some of them are really like more technological, engineering, or digital solutions. Some other, let's say, softer measures or more the measures related to policy and governance. There is a mix depending on specific challenges that each region is facing. Next slide. In our approach from the very beginning, from the design of the project, it was meant really as a collaborative project, and we really are very serious about the collaborations across countries, across partners, but also really in each regional ecosystem that we bring. Because when we say that 12 regions are directly involved in resist, almost every region is bringing really a mix of different stakeholders. Our approach is the skin-to-pool helix approach, so bringing and collaborating between different types of stakeholders from the ecosystems, and also caring for natural environment. So the consortium, those 60 partners are bringing, or they constitute those representatives of the regional partners from the 12 regions, but also a group of what we call horizontal partners who bring on board also more transversal know-how, expertise, and support the regions throughout their implementation of the actions. We have academia, but research institutions, but also industry represented in the consortium, as well as civil society and different types of organizations. And we really strengthen the collaborations at all the levels. Next one, please. You see that the 12 regions, you will hear today from some of them. There are 12, and we really promote and collaboration and exchange of experiences and know-how between all the regions. But for sake of project methodology, they also grouped in, let's say, 4 groupings, with one of the regions being the, let's say, the leading one, what we call large-scale demonstrator, and 2 regions being 12. So it's as the leading regions, we have Southwest Finland, and you see we can pass those 4 slides now faster, just to represent a little bit how geographically our regions are spread and what kind of challenges they are jointly addressing with their solutions. Yeah, you can go to the next one, because as I said, we have a variety of solutions being tested and also now being transferred. Linda will talk a little bit more about this, so I will not go deep into this, but just to stress that there's really big differentiation of what is being developed specifically addressing the challenges and needs, as I said, but also what is horizontal, transversal to all the activities and in all the regions. What we really also care about is engaging stakeholders, and this is when I mean stakeholders, we talk about involve politicians, but also for example, in many regions it's very important to collaborate closely with civil protection because of the nature of the activities, but also citizens. So this is something that's also very much present, importance of that in all our activities, and the solutions that resist is putting in practice and testing are very mixed. Next, I think I just want to mention, for example, some that are transversal to all the regions, like graphical twins, or something that is even open beyond resist. It will be repository of climate adaptation solutions that is also being prepared as part of the project. Because next slide, please, because you will see that we'll focus today on some of the solutions and activities in the regions, but there is also much more of kind of framework activities and solutions that are overarching for the whole project. And many of those results and publications will be also available along the project at our website. So next slide. I encourage you to follow, for those who don't know yet, all the channels where we share our know-how and our materials, to please visit our website, visit our other channels where we share this know-how, because I think beyond the 12 regions, it can be also very valuable and useful for other territories in Europe. So I hope you can benefit from this know-how that we are generating as part of the project. Thank you. As an introduction, and now please hear from the others.
Thank you, Catarina. And now we can pass the word to Linda, who will indeed share about the transfer solutions and strategies.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Let me share my screen. Okay. Can you see it? Give me a quick.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Linda. I'm a senior advisor in the adaptation team at Adelphi, a think tank based in Berlin. And yeah, we are one of the horizontal partners in the Resist project, kind of helping the different regions with their adaptation efforts and also assisting in the transfer of solutions. So yeah, I will tell you a little bit about the solutions being implemented in Resist and how the transfer between the regions is happening, and yeah, what this means in terms of solutions being put into action. So yeah, just a brief overview. I will tell you kind of how the whole process was structured a little bit, how we started with identifying common problems in the regions, common challenges. Then I'll give a brief overview of the solutions being implemented, and then about our transfer approach and how this benefits the regions and overall adaptation efforts. So basically, the first thing we did in the project as Adelphi was to conduct a needs assessment for all the 12 regions in the project. And so we looked, as part of this assessment, at the different climate risks that affect each region, what adaptation measures are already put into place or are planned, what's kind of the policy context, but also who are the relevant stakeholders and what capacities are available, but also where is there a lack of capacity or a lack of resources. So we identified a lot of commonalities in the climate risks that the regions face, and also in the challenges that they have for implementing adaptation. So this is just yeah, a summary of the identified common climate impacts for the Resist regions. So you can see quite a lot of the regions are affected by increasing heat and heat waves, or another very common impact from climate change is erosion, either due to heavy rain, heavy precipitation, or due to coastal flooding, or in general, different types of flooding are affecting a lot of the regions. So just as you can see, there are numerous climate change impacts that affect each of these regions, and there's a clear need for action. And then we also identified problems from the lens of what kind of support is needed for the regions involved in the project. So just a few examples you can see here. I won't go into too much detail, but basically this is where Adelphi and other partners in the project then focus on delivering for the regions to help them implement their adaptation solutions successfully. So yeah, as you can see, there are a lot of climate change risks and impacts, and a lot of challenges. So now we want to look at how the solutions that are being put into action to address these impacts. So actually, overall in Resist, there's such a long list of solutions that are being implemented, which includes quite a large variety of types of solutions. Catarina already gave a brief introduction to that, but yeah, we cannot actually go through each of these solutions individually, because that would take hours to give you an introduction to, but I've tried to group them a little bit along the different categories of solutions, and we'll talk about some of these within each of these groups. There are still more solutions being developed and implemented than what is on these slides or on the next few slides. So this is not even the full list, but I think it will give you a good overview of kind of the variety and the depth of solutions. So on this slide, we've summarized some of the solutions being implemented regarding flood mitigation measures, so flood protection. And one important aspect of that is hydrological modeling, which is being implemented in several regions. So there are being made improvements and further developments for these different types of modeling. So this can include, for example, modeling heavy rainfall scenarios for a region and then modeling how different solutions would work for that area to improve the situation and reduce the impacts. Or in Eastern Macedonia and Thrace, for example, the partners will use Earth observation data results to improve the efficiency and accuracy of flood warning systems. Another solution implemented by the Central Denmark region are so-called demo houses, where this is kind of a physical demonstration of several adaptation strategies to cope with rising water levels and flooding at the individual building scale. Which will also be available to visitors to see what the different materials would do and so on. Another solution, which maybe we will hear about more later, but which is implemented by Southwest Finland, is so-called rain garden catalog. So this describes different options to create so-called rain gardens, which is a nature-based solution or adaptation measure for residential property, which reduces the risk of flooding. And the solution will include, having a catalog what these different options are, but also then involving companies that will offer these services for property owners, so it will be easier for them to implement. Another group of solutions is different ways to engage stakeholders into climate adaptation. So to raise awareness, to educate citizens and stakeholders, but also some decision support tools for policymakers. And this can take all kinds of different formats. So one, for example, is the so-called climate tech tour by the Blekinge region to raise awareness amongst citizens and decision makers using extended reality technologies to raise awareness. Also arts and hackathons and storytelling. So, and this, this tour will be or is being conducted at different libraries, schools, museums, open arenas. So really just wherever the citizens are to go to them and raise awareness. Or another one is the so-called Best Adapt tool, which is a decision support tool based on flood maps and flood risk and damage costs. And this calculates the sort of the optimum socioeconomic protection level of an area. So it can be used to prioritize areas where adaptation is really most needed, or it can help determine the level of protection that should be planned. And as part of RESIST, new modules regarding groundwater flooding and recreational values of different investments and solutions is developed and will be included in this tool and the calculation of adaptation solutions. Then there's also a lot of governance instruments or landscape management practices which are being implemented. And just one example are sort of buffer zones around rural villages or village condominiums, which create like a 100-meter buffer zone around these communities to increase resilience to wildfires. So these zones reduce the fuel load and maintain kind of safe distances between the residential areas and where a wildfire might spread. So this strategy kind of transforms unmanaged flammable vegetation into landscapes with natural native species, reducing flammability, but also enhancing biodiversity and increasing the long-term resilience of rural areas. And as Catarina already mentioned, a large focus of the project is on innovative digital solutions. So this includes the digital twins, graphical digital twins for all the regions that are involved, but also other digital solutions. So for example, early warning systems. So one example is the Argos system developed by Catalonia region. And so this is an early warning system and a decision support tool and a digital platform to help emergency managers and other stakeholders anticipate the impacts and better manage climate-related emergencies. So it centralizes all the information, It provides locally tailored early warning on very site-specific critical points and infrastructure. And so it's a very digital technical solution, but many of the solutions I've mentioned or which you see on the slides are kind of implemented together to amplify their effects. So this early warning system is implemented together with this participatory toolkit for citizens to which is designed to strengthen communities and includes participatory process for social action in emergencies. So it focuses on risk preparedness through inclusive risk communication and local and regional emergency management. So that then increases the coordination between regional and municipal civil protection, for example, and leads to more resilient and participatory citizens with a greater capacity to protect themselves and adapt to climate change. So it brings together both digital and sociological methodologies and innovations. And another digital solution, I hope I'm okay on time, is the a network of Internet of Things loggers, so data loggers for groundwater levels, which can be used to monitor and collect data about the development and groundwater table and relevant climate data. And this then plays a crucial role by providing real-time data and insights that help monitor and manage environmental conditions and what the water levels are, documenting the time variation in groundwater levels, how they are spread out spatially. And this then provides necessary knowledge of a specific site for better management of groundwater and flood levels. So as you can see, basically the whole point, there's a very large number of solutions that are implemented in the different regions that cover a huge variety of approaches and sectors. And it also means that for all these different solutions, there's already experience and a large amount of expertise available in all the regions. So it just makes so much sense to use all this knowledge and help use it as a transfer to the different regions. And we do that kind of with two sets of approaches in Resist. One is, as we call it, the deep dive transfer. So really, we select certain solutions, we transfer them to another region according to a transfer methodology, which I will talk about in a minute. And then kind of a softer knowledge exchange transfer where just regions kind of share their experience, share their knowledge, give ideas and impulses to each other, but it's not really a full transfer of solutions. So this is the kind of a brief overview of the transfer methodology that is currently being implemented. So we drafted this methodology last year. We helped all the regions develop their transfer plans, and now it is being implemented. So we are in step 4, actually, the implementation. Here you can see the different steps that we kind of outlined for this methodology and what is necessary for each of the steps. So in the beginning, you look at the solution inventory, what's available, what might fit for my region, what could address my challenges and my needs. And then really importantly, to look at how is this context different from the original context of the solution? How would it need to maybe be adjusted? And what are some of the barriers? How do I plan to overcome them? And to really then have kind of a sort of a project management plan and like really outline what are the milestones, what are the different actors that need to be involved in this transfer, what's the timeline, what are the resources we need. So this is kind of, this methodology is a guideline for this whole process from the beginning to end, including the monitoring and evaluation of how this transfer was successful. And yes, this is currently being applied for all the regions in Resist. And as you can see here, this is an overview of all the solutions that are being transferred. And basically what this means is that in addition to everything I showed on the slides before, all of these solutions are kind of multiplied. So they are applied in more than one region. They are being transferred and they're kind of scaled up. More action is being taken. And even some additional solutions are being implemented due to the transfer. So for example, the blue-green factor solution from Southwest Finland, which is a policy instrument to increase blue and green infrastructure in urban areas And this was already available in the Southwest Finland region, and now it is being made available to other regions within the project so they can apply it and increase vegetation and nature-based solutions for stormwater management. But yeah, you can see it's a huge number of solutions that are being put into action in all the different regions. And in addition to that, we have lots more formats where the regions can exchange between themselves. So either we had a solutions kind of marketplace at the consortium meeting where they can just see what all the other solutions are that are available and that they might be interested in to hear more about. There's a community of practice as part of the project, and there are also regular meetings within each of the leading group with both of their twins to kind of exchange on, have an overview of expertise that is available, where they might come to each other for ideas or support. Yeah, so basically what the benefits are, it means we've seen in the beginning there are a lot of common challenges in the European regions. They have a lot of the similar climate impacts, similar barriers to adaptation. A large barrier is usually that there's limited time and financial resources available. But at the same time, all these regions already have so much knowledge and experience created. So it just makes so much sense to use that and not to have every region start again from scratch and reinvent another solution, but to use the expertise that's already available to make it just the most effective and most efficient. And yeah, that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda, for this very complete overview. I think this really sets the stage for our regional speakers. And just for a reminder of those who may have joined later, and also Revolve reminded in the chat, but throughout these presentations, feel free to leave your questions in the Q&A, and then we'll get to it at the end of the session. Just so you don't forget, you can leave it there. And please indicate for who it's directed so that we can answer it more easily at the end. And now I would like to introduce you to our first regional speaker, Christos Akratos, from the Department of Civil Engineering at Demokritis University of Thrace. So representing the region of Eastern Macedonia and Thrace in Greece, Professor Akratos will share insights on following a nature-based solutions approach to climate change adaptation to address the challenges of flooding and soil erosion in the region. So thank you, Christos, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning to all. I will start my presentation about how the region of Eastern Macedonia and Thrace works in this project. For us, Resist, it was a big opportunity to work together and to form a local ecosystem which involves the regional authority of Eastern Macedonia and Thrace, Demokritis University of Thrace, and the NORA Innovation, which is a small enterprise with artificial intelligence and development of innovative solutions. The key challenges that we want to overcome with Resist, or to set some initial guidelines in Resist for our region, is the increasing temperatures and the prolonged droughts and flooding, which are more and more, which appear more and more frequently in the region. And we need, in order to adapt in this climate change, we need to focus on the use of nature-based solutions, which until now is not so popular, and we have a big lack of a legislation framework in order to implement nature-based solutions for droughts or other climate adaptation policies. We focus on two study areas, the bases of river Konstanthos and Laspias. Both are located in the near municipality of Xanthi. They are semi-urban rivers, And we choose these two specific water sets because Kosinthos River has in the past caused severe floods in the city of Xanthi, while Laspias River has received a lot of the major part of the pollution loads coming from the city of Xanthi. Our main targets in Eastern Macedonia in Thrace is to involve more stakeholders by raising their awareness and of landowners and farmers, and having a more active role in all this in all these efforts to develop the application of flood warning systems, early flood warning systems, and water quality status, collect data and analyze by cost-benefit analysis the use of NBS in the region of Eastern Macedonia and Thrace for flood protection and water quality improvement, and at the end to develop a roadmap for using NBS in flood retention, water quality pollution, and irrigation water scarcity management, which could be used in the future from the Regional Authority of Eastern Macedonia and Thrace. Sorry. I'm not going to devote a lot of time by saying anything else for floods and nature-based solutions, because I think that they are pretty well, they are well known, which are the severe effects of floods and the benefits of using nature-based solutions these days. The methodology that we have followed is, first of all, to simulate the floodings and the watersheds of our two rivers by using climatic and hydrological data. We have moved now to the simulation of the use of various NBS in the watersheds. We don't have the opportunity to physically construct NBS in these two watersheds, but we simulate the construction of this NBS and we validate their effect in flood or water quality, in flood retention or water quality improvement. All these NBS that are going to be tested and simulated in the next months, there will be at the end go through the cost-benefit analysis in order to see which are the champion NBS that can have the maximum positive effect in the area. We have started by performing monitoring campaigns in both rivers in order to collect water quality and water quantity data. We have collected a lot of data from the various authorities of the region, or from the literature review concerning the NBS use in other areas. Using the NBS, we have limited the list of NBIs in order to meet the local needs and the local conditions in order to be successful and effective. So we have concentrated in NBS that can help us in extreme rainfall events, in floods, in storms, heat waves, and droughts. In order to have additional help in this effort, in this simulation effort, we use the data from various telemetric stations which we have deployed in previous works. The use of these telemetric stations will be the key component of in order to develop our early warning system, as they can measure in real-time conditions the water level in both rivers, and that will be the main input in our early warning system. You can see some screenshots from our initial effort in order to simulate the water sets and the use and to identify the areas that can be used for NBS constructions. With green, you can see the areas that meet all criteria for NBS construction, and the red don't meet the criteria. And also for various NBS solutions. We have created a matrix with the various NBS that we have identified as possible solutions, which also provide ecosystem services. You can see, depending on the color, which is the key benefit or the co-benefit of each NBS, using social and economic, environmental, social, and economic indicators. And of course, we have engaged our local stakeholders by having already 2 workshops. The first one was in Komotini with the staff of all authorities, all different authorities of Eastern Macedonia, regional authority of Eastern Macedonia and Thrace, and of course the second stakeholder meeting, which was a little bit broader, because we had also farmers, landowners, and some representatives of the Ministry of Environment, where we discussed the possibility of creating a legislation framework for using NBS in Greece. Until now, the main outcomes of our work are that we have already acknowledged the challenge that Eastern Macedonia and Thrace need to adapt to climate change, which are the key risks of EMT with the climate change, according to the climate change scenarios. And we have also identified the key NBS solutions that we need to test in the near future. Our work has already presented in several events, like the event of the Hellenic Ministry of Climate Crisis and Civil Protection, which was held under the auspices of the President of the Hellenic Republic, or in various international and national conferences. We have already finished with our digital twin of both watersheds. You can see a nice frame from the digital twin in Kosinthos River. And of course, we are now in the process of the transferring activities. We receive two methodologies, the blue-green factor from Southwest Finland. I would like to say that a few words only from the part concerning the Eastern Macedonia and Thrace, because we will customize the blue-green factor to include the specific climate risk and social economic factors in Eastern Macedonia and Thrace. And of course, we are going to model all this during hydrological and hydraulic model. The goal is to ensure that we have effective and social equitable adaptation in EMT urban and rural areas. And for this purpose, we're going to involve various stakeholders. We have finished our preliminary work, and now we expect during the next months to implement a potential extent of blue-green factor. And the other methodology that we getting from Southwest Finland is the cost-benefit analysis. Again, we will focus on how CBA will be used in Eastern Macedonia and Thrace. We want you to provide a structured analysis to inform climate adaptation investments and to promote this regional knowledge exchange using various stakeholder groups in order to align decisions with between the regional authority of Eastern Macedonia and Thrace with social and environmental priorities. The outcome that we believe that we can reach in a few months is to have an evidence-based policies that maximize a long-term regional resilience. We have some unique challenges performing cost-benefit analysis in Eastern Macedonia and Thrace because we have a rural agricultural economy with limited infrastructure. We need to balance biodiversity conservation with economic development. We have a lot of areas of Natura areas in the region. And we focus on, we need to focus on market benefits to have various scenarios. We're going to plan various scenarios which will address uncertainties in environmental impacts and outcomes. And at the end, we need to equip local agencies with the skills to conduct cost-benefit analysis beyond the frame of RESIST project. I would like to thank you for your attention, and of course, I am available for any question.
Thank you very much, Christos. And now we can move to our next regional speaker. So it's Fernando Pulido, full professor at the University of Extremadura in Spain. And he will share how integrated landscape management is being used to reduce wildfire risks while also strengthening rural economies. So thank you, Fernando. The floor is yours.
Okay, good morning. I will try to show you in just a few minutes how we are working in a remote area in southwestern Europe. It's Extremadura. It's a highly depopulated region, and as you can see in the photo, we are working within this blue square. This is very close to the area in central Portugal, which has been historically affected by huge fires that are also coming to Spain, to our region. Here we are working of course, with the University of Extremadura, where I am working, but also with the Regional Foundation for Science and Technology, and of course we are coordinated with the regional government and especially the forestry and fire services. Next one, please. Well, we have two main challenges. One is very well known by everybody, the problems associated with the increasing aridity, temperature, droughts, and because of that, the increasing size of fires. As you can see in this chart, in which we are representing the probability of extremely large fires in Europe and the predicted trend in the coming decades. You can see the first pale blue line refers to the Mediterranean areas, and in Southern Europe, in the Mediterranean conditions, the rate of increase of the probability of large fires is much higher than in other latitudinal belts in Europe, for example, Central or Northern Europe, where also we will have an increase in extreme fires, but in the Mediterranean we will suffer much more. Next one, please. Usually this problem is only attributed to climate change, but this is not completely correct. Wildfires not only need high temperatures, but also a lot of plant fuel accumulation. And this has happened in the last decades in most Europe, and especially in Southern Europe, basically because of four different processes. We have planted a lot of trees in Southern Europe to prevent erosion and to sequester carbon, etc. But also we have seen an abandonment of former crops and also grazing in the mountains, and because of that, we have seen very rapid processes of land encroaching that make this vegetation and fuel grows very rapidly. And this is the physical basis of wildfire. You cannot have wildfires if you have not fuel. And we have a lot of fuel because of land abandonment and the population and the subsequent land encroaching. And this is a perfect storm for mega fires. Next one, please. Within the resist framework, Extremadura is playing a role together with, especially with the central Portugal and another region in northern Norway. Basically, central Portugal will transfer their solutions to Extremadura management to create what we call a fire smart and resilient landscape in Extremadura. Next one, please. Well, our main solutions related with the landscape transformation can be synthesized with this photograph from a big fire we suffered in 2009 and in northern Extremadura. You can see how there are many islands or many refuge where the fire cannot spread, and most of these isolated areas are productive areas that are used for growing olive trees or cherry trees or chestnut trees, etc. And also they are grazed areas. So in the landscape, we have the solution we are trying to develop. We are trying to increase the area and also to strategically manage this kind of productive areas within forests that can act as fire breaks. Next one, please. To increase the area and of productive fire breaks and to reduce the continuity of forest, we are using mainly four participatory tools. You can see here grazing, forest thinning, resin tapping or resin harvesting from the pine trees, and also introducing of croppings, woody croppings in between large forests. Of course, these four tools are developed by engaging the local people, and as you can also imagine, they are really happy because they are involved in the solution, and also because this kind of productive fuel breaks also are very useful for increasing for improving the social and economic dynamics of our communities. Next one, please. As a result of that, we are getting some specific products from these productive fuel breaks areas. Here you can see different labels for olive oil, different cosmetic products, also meat from the goats, or also cheese. So we try to link these productive fuel breaks with specific products that are also, or that can be labeled with a trademark that inform the consumer that they are buying products that help combating fires. Next one, please. We are currently trying to increase the spatial scale and the spatial impact of our solutions, trying to get benefits from carbon credits. As you know, at least in Southern Europe, burn areas, that the one you can see in the photo, usually after fire are restored by planting trees. If you plant trees with a very high density, you are just increasing again the probability of future fires. So we try to use carbon credits and the financial support they bring to create a more fire resilient landscape. So we try to use the financial support to increase the area covered by productive fuel breaks in between the pine forest. You can see here a fire from 2 years ago that stopped near a small village because it was surrounded by olive trees. So this is a nice example of the kind of landscape we are targeting for the coming years. Next one, please. So the target landscape we are pursuing is the one with a more heterogeneous landscape configuration. Traditionally, we have a lot of pine forests with no management at all, which increase the likelihood of big fires. So we are introducing, or we are basically recovering traditional crops like olive, chestnut, also cork from the cork trees. You can see with this orange skin the trees, and also we are trying to recover the grazing by especially goats and also sheep in strategically located areas for fire prevention. The last one, please. So just to summarize, we are in Resist in Extremadura. We are simultaneously addressing climate and land usage challenges by creating resilient landscape through a proactive approach. This is very important. We are trying to anticipate the arrival of fires by creating proactively a new landscape with the engagement, actively engagement of local people and especially farmers. We know that this model can be replicated through the whole European continent. In fact, we have now some people asking us about how to replicate our tools in other countries within and outside Resist. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fernando. Okay, and now we will move to our final. Can you hear me? Yes. We'll move to our final regional speaker. So we have Eija Pouta, research professor at the Natural Resources Institute in Finland, also known as LUP, and who will be presenting how the region of Southwest Finland is working to develop a sustainable water management practice and adopt implementation of nature-based solutions. So if you can't tell, nature-based solutions runs through the Resist region. And thank you, Eija. The floor is yours.
Thank you. So the solution I will talk about is cost-benefit analysis, and we apply it to nature-based solutions in Southwest Finland. Let's go further. So we know nature-based solutions inspired by nature and support environmental, social, and economic benefits. They integrate nature to cities and to landscape, and typically and often and always they are locally adapted. So if one solution works somewhere, it cannot be directly transferred to another region. It needs to be adapted. And here, let's go further. We are developing cost-benefit analysis. In next one, to evaluate different nature-based solutions. So cost-benefit analysis is systematic approach. It produces monetary financial information of a project or solution. It helps as it compares costs and benefits, so it provides information for decision making. But in our case, we also apply cost-benefit analysis as a tool to integrate people's perceptions and to integrate people in planning process. Let's go to next one. How to implement cost-benefit analysis for nature-based solutions. So we need alternative we take into account to identify and predict the impacts. They can be monetary impacts or clear economic impacts, or they can be impacts in nature, in landscape, but still we try to monetize all the impacts to be able to compare costs and benefits in monetary terms. We make recommendations for decision making, but we do not provide any rule for decision makers. So we produce more information for them to make decision making easier. Okay, let's go to next one. And in our case, yes, we can take all the material here. We focus one area in Turku, yes. That's Rauvola Bay, and there we focus on 2 postal code areas that cover green area where we have storm waters and flood issues every now and then. Next one, please. To integrate people's opinions in this cost-benefit analysis, we have used workshops, but we also use surveys. And surveys we feel are important as we get wider coverage of people's opinions. For example, here we started evaluating different possible solutions or projects by asking people about their preferences. And we ended up in 2 possible solutions. We want to more focus in our cost benefit analysis. So theory of small wetlands, but also developing plots, planting more trees and green areas in plots. And here we see people's perceptions about wetlands and other rainwater solutions. So what are the impacts they perceive are important? Landscape impacts, then usable rainwater in gardens, biodiversity. But also we can expect some negative impacts. So in Finland, insects, mosquitoes may be something that are annoying them, and they may see some danger to humans, especially children, from these wetlands. So these are important to take into account in cost-benefit analysis, people's perceptions. Let's go to next one. So we have benefit categories, we have diversity, biodiversity, recreation opportunities, landscape. Those we take into account. Then we have cost categories, mainly the implementation cost of wetlands, but also indirect costs are possible, for example, safety issues. And then in next one, I just provide a very brief example of possibilities of monetary valuation in the case of recreation benefits. On that,
Eija, can you hear us? I think you're frozen now.
Okay, I can hear
Um,
you.
My suggestion would be to try turning off your camera. Maybe it helps with the internet connection. But you're finished.
This was last example about the value of recreation benefits. Does it work?
Yes, I can hear you now, so you can continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the nature-based solution would cause more people to visit the area, but it will also increase the number of visits. And this is something we need to take into account in cost-benefit analysis. We can use our national estimates for the value of recreation visit. It's in the case of close to home recreation visits, it's €6. So with these figures, we can value the increase in recreation visits. And that's only one component of those benefits. So we still have, for example, biodiversity benefits to be compared with the costs of the project. But let's go to last one. Our next steps will be to finalize the cost-benefit analysis for the Rauvola Bay, and then we will continue sharing experiences and information of this solution with Eastern Macedonia and Thrace and Normandy. So thank you.
Thank you, Eija. And thank you to all of the panelists. Now we can move to the Q&A session. There are some questions already in the chat, but please, if something comes up, feel free to share again. Yes, so Q&A is open. We could start with a question I saw for Christos. So from Vilia, it's a very well-designed ecosystem of climate change adaptation solutions that you have designed to demonstrate in Eastern Macedonia and Thrace. How have you prepared such a plan, and what would be your advice to other regions in Greece? I will paste it again, maybe if you need to read it.
Okay, thank you. From the beginning of the resist, I would say when we prepared our part of the proposal before resist was funded, we have identified something that it's a common disadvantage in Greece, which is that we didn't have a very stable and concrete cooperation between the government, either the central government or the regional government, with academic sector and small enterprises that are making and developing some very innovative solutions. So in order to overcome this, we have set, we had a common understanding about how, which would be the targets that we're going to set in the frames of the resist, in order to, first of all, to answer the needs of the regional authority, which is the key factor to have a successful implementation of the project, but having also in mind which is the experience from the university or from an INOVA innovation which can be used in the frame of resist, and how this experience could go further during the implementation of the resist project. So I think that our cooperation, our ecosystem could be used as a pilot ecosystem in also in other regions, in other Greek regions, either in the frames of a European funded project, or in the frames of developing some scenarios and some plans which will be funded from national funds and not also European funds.
Yes, thank you. For me, it's clear. Is there any follow-up question to this? Any clarification needed? No.
I would
Ah, yes.
maybe just add in general the comment that in fact this question of funding, because as you know it's quite crucial if really we want to, let's say, mainstream and scale up adaptation solutions for the whole territories. It's really very important that let's say funding has to be coming from different sources, and what we have as Resist is piloting and demonstrating the value of certain solutions, but definitely all the regions yes, will strive and try to look and will support us, the project as well, for that, to trying to find different sources of funding and financing scale up of those solutions, because to make really a big impact and difference, that will be something very important.
Yes, indeed. I like how adaptable it is to the local context. I think all of the Resist plans have this nature to scale across. I have a question for Christos while we have you about the early warning systems that you mentioned, and whether you could elaborate on who is alerted and what are the actions that are taken within this system.
Okay, we are still on development. We develop the system these months, but I will give you some initial information about how it will work. The main idea is from the hydraulic simulation to see which are the crucial water depths in both rivers, which could lead to some flood events. Now, using the real-time data from our stations, from our telemetric station in the rivers, if the program, the warning system could read in real time the value of the water depth in certain points of the river. So if the water depth reaches this crucial depth, it will alert civil protection and some other people from the regional authority to inform them that we have a crucial flood phenomenon which probably appears when we not be sure, but we have a crucial situation in order to take the necessary measures and protect cities, the human lives, or also the agricultural fields from flooding.
Yes, thank you. I was asking because, of course, there's also a leading demonstration region, Catalonia, who's using a similar system, and I think it's a great innovation to be applied across.
The crucial is to set the value of the water depth.
Yes.
Because you cannot use a single one value, but you need to elaborate a little bit with using some artificial intelligence or some fuzzy logic scenarios in order to be because the 1 meter or 1.5 meters are not they are not concrete values for flood scenarios. So we need to elaborate in the ranges where the system will activate the information in the civil protection agency or in the regional authority to set all of the mechanism running about the flood.
Yes. Great, thank you. I'll move to a question we had for Fernando from Elena, which is, can you tell me the name and location of the village that you mentioned was saved by olive trees?
Excuse me, I couldn't hear the first part of the question.
If you could tell the name and location of the village that was saved by olive trees when you showed the fire.
Yes. Well, there are many villages. This is just an example. The name is Torre de Don Miguel, but there are many other examples of small villages that have been saved, I would say, by tree croppings around. Yes, many examples.
Thank you. There's another one also, which is, would the solution showcased in Extremadura be suitable or applicable across Northern Europe? It's a good question.
Sure. In fact, we are already applying these kind of solutions in the southern Netherlands. Last year we were asked about this kind of solutions and proactive processes. And in fact, next week I will go to this area in the Netherlands, where a community of owners in an area are threatened by fires. Of course, the main advantage of Central European and Northern countries is that you can work there with the same tools, but with not with a lot of pressure, because they are just suffering small fires as compared with the ones in Southern Europe. But anyway, yes, we are working in more northern countries. Yeah.
Great, thank you. I also had a question more about the developing the rural economy in line with this wildfire protection. So you mentioned the crop planning, like cork or chestnut, and that they're creating local products in order to do this crop planning. So what is the process for changing the business models there, or implementing, like planting these more diverse trees? Like, I'm thinking more of the business aspect and applying it on the ground with the cultivators as well.
Well, as you can imagine, it is not a simple and short project. It's, you have to work a lot for a long time, but it is easier if you have the cooperation of the government and the local authorities, and of course many of the local stakeholders that usually used to work individually. They are not aggregated in associations and in other kind of cooperative actions that make it easier to work with this kind of new business models.
Yeah, I think it always comes down to this, having government cooperation really helps with implementation. Okay, thank you, Fernando. I think there was a question earlier for Linda, which was from Vilia. Could you name a few unexpected findings discovered during the process of developing the transfer plan, and what made the wheel turn faster? I'll paste it in the chat.
Yeah, thank you. I think, I don't know if it was unexpected, but definitely some important learnings were that it's really important to plan some time to really look at how the two regional contexts differ. So from the providing region to the receiving region, and how the solution then has to be adjusted for implementation for the new context. So that really, requires some thought and some discussion. And I think that it was also really important to, when partners were planning, really had to plan the timeline of the transfer and of the implementation, to really look at how the different activities contribute to the outcome that they were aiming for. So to really go into that detail and that depth was really, really crucial, I think. It might not have made it turn faster, maybe a bit slower actually for the planning process, but I think much faster for the implementation process. And I think what really helped for the planning was to have good solution profiles in the beginning. So to have a good description of what are the different solutions, what are they useful for, who needs to be involved, what's kind of the resource demand, to help the regions select the solutions that they wanted to transfer. And I think from Adelphi's side, it was helpful for the regions that we provided a lot of templates that they then only had to fill out. So to really give a structure for what information is needed and what information do they need to think about for this planning process. So we had, for example, a template, an Excel sheet for like a Gantt chart for the whole timeline of the transfer implementation. So to kind of, guide their thinking and planning and, already give them a structure and a template that they just had to fill out. I think that really helped.
Thank you. Super clear. And I think it's a good reminder that sometimes you need to invest more in the beginning. It might seem slow, but then it helps turn the wheel later. Indeed. Okay, I had one question for Eija. Thank you, Linda. I'm curious about the rain garden catalog. If you could give an example concretely of how it works, how it would be transferred to the end user, and how they could implement it in their own context.
Well, I'm not really, I have to admit, I'm not really expert in that. But anyway, I think the idea is to provide a very easily accessible catalog. So like a collection of different gardening solutions that include this rain garden element. So water areas or small ponds and that kind of spaces, and what kind of plants can be included there, and how they can be built, and also about the providers and costs of the catalog. So they try to enhance a lot of owners to improve their garden so that it will also keep the water there and help in stormwater issues.
Thank you. We also have a new question for you, which is that you mentioned that there were 760 valid observations, which is a high number. How would you manage to get such a high response?
Well, all the households in that area were taken in our sample. So they all were sent the invitation to respond to our survey. And usually the number of respondents, it's around 15% in Finland at the moment. And I think that it was also the case here. So the problem is that not all are interested to provide their opinion and perceptions. But anyway, I think that we got quite representative picture with this sample.
And a last small question, which is about how the cost-benefit analysis for nature-based solutions can support governments to boost the implementation of the solutions in practical terms. I'll paste it for you to read it.
Yes. Well, I think it depends on the results of the cost-benefit analysis. If it shows the benefits that are considerably higher than costs, it will certainly help the governments to enhance the use of these solutions. But it also helps by showing the benefits, showing the benefit categories, showing the impacts. And it helps also in integration of people's opinions in decision making.
Great, thank you. Well, we're reaching the end. Are there any more questions? There's no such thing as a bad question, so really feel free if you're curious about anything the panelists have said. This is your chance. Alternatively, you can always email us and we can forward the questions to the panelists. It's definitely possible. Okay. I think that's the end then for the questions that we already had in the chat. Thank you very much for everyone who participated and shared their knowledge. Revolve, could you please again remind in the chat how people can reach Resist and see our work. Also, yes, perfect. Where you'd be able to find this recording, for example. Great. I'd also like to remind you that these media briefings are taking place regularly. So we'll have about 2 per year for the remainder of the project. So if you'd like to stay tuned, you can also join the future ones. And we're always focusing on topics that are relevant for media representatives, for journalists, ways that you can disseminate these climate solutions and innovations coming out of the project. Sometimes it's conversation between journalists, and in this case today was with our regional representatives. Thank you, Claudia. So any last thoughts, you can paste it here. But if not, I would say that we can go ahead and wrap up. Sometimes it's hard on Zoom. I feel like I'm alone in the room, but I can see some of your faces. So yes, just follow us to stay in touch, and we'll have another media briefing at the end of the year. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.